Do you ever walk into a room and feel like someone just owned it without even opening their mouth? Like they didn't need to try, people just naturally gravitated toward them? That's not an accident. That's power in its most silent form. And if you want women to chase you, not just notice you, but pursue you, you need to understand how to tap into that kind of energy. It's not about being loud, it's not about flexing or performing. It's about mastering the art of presence, something so rare and magnetic, it pulls her in without effort. Women aren't drawn to chaos, they're drawn to mystery, and mystery is born from self-control. The man who doesn't feel the need to fill every silence with words, the man who can hold eye contact without flinching, without shifting nervously or searching for approval, he speaks volumes by saying absolutely nothing. He's not reactive, he's not easily moved. That kind of stillness signals depth, and depth is irresistible. You have to remember something. Attraction doesn't start in the words, it starts in the space between them. Your energy introduces you before your voice ever does. When you walk into a room, your posture, your stride, your stillness, they all whisper something about who you are. So, what are you silently telling her? That you're grounded? That you're unbothered? That you're a man who knows exactly who he is and doesn't need anyone to confirm it? That's what catches her eye. That's what makes her curious. And curiosity is the first step toward desire. Most guys make the mistake of trying to impress women. They talk too much, laugh too hard, try too desperately to be liked. But in doing all of that, they kill the mystery. They give it all away. And once she feels like she's figured you out, the chase is over, you've become predictable. And predictability doesn't excite, it comforts. And comfort is not what ignites fire in her chest. But when you know how to hold your space, when you let silence work for you instead of fearing it, when your presence suggests depth she hasn't tasted yet, that's when she leans in. That's when she starts to wonder, who is he really? And that question is powerful because it lives in her head long after the conversation ends. It's the seed of obsession. And it's not just about silence, it's about deliberate energy. It's about making your movements slow and purposeful. Not sluggish, intentional. When you speak, don't rush your words, let them land. Let her feel the weight of your thoughts. Speak like every word matters, because when you do, she'll listen more closely. She'll lean in, physically and emotionally. And don't underestimate eye contact. I'm not talking about creepy staring contests. I'm talking about calm, steady eye contact that says, I see you, but I'm not trying to own you. I'm just here, present, undistracted. That kind of eye contact triggers a feeling in her she can't quite explain. It tells her that you're not intimidated by her beauty, not desperate for her attention, and that you are, above all else, in control of yourself. Control is everything. A man who controls himself can control a room. He doesn't need to dominate anyone else. His dominance is internal. That's the kind of masculinity that doesn't roar. It hums, quietly, powerfully, and it lingers. Even the way you sit matters. Sit like you own the chair, not arrogantly, just grounded, comfortable, like nothing around you is threatening your peace. Because here's the truth. When a woman sees that you're not looking for anything outside of yourself to validate who you are, she starts to look for ways to earn your attention. That's when the game flips. That's when she starts to wonder how to stay on your mind, and suddenly she's chasing you. Don't be the guy who tries to impress. Be the man who intrigues. That's the difference between a man who gets attention and a man who keeps it. So the next time you walk into a room, remember, your silence can be louder than 1,000 words if you carry it with quiet confidence. Let your stillness speak. Let your energy speak. And watch what happens when she starts leaning in, trying to get closer to the mystery you've become. Speak less, own more. There's something deeply intoxicating about being seen, truly seen, not for how you look, not for what you do, but for something deeper. Women don't just want to be admired, they want to feel understood. But here's the part most men miss. When you give her that feeling too easily, when you offer your attention like a free sample at a grocery store, it loses its value. She doesn't chase what's always available. She chases what feels rare, and a man who makes her feel seen, but not owned, becomes unforgettable. Oh, Wow. You see, there's a difference between appreciation and attachment. A man who sees her for who she is, who listens just enough, who notices the small things, a shift in her tone, a flicker in her expression, but doesn't try to possess her, doesn't cling to her like she's the center of his world. That man, he plants himself in her mind because he gives her what most men can't, the warmth of connection without the weight of neediness. The key is balance. You're not cold, you're not distant, you're just not desperate. You observe her like she's a beautiful storm, something wild and fascinating, but you don't try to control it. And when you respond to her like that, she starts to wonder why. Why aren't you trying harder? Why aren't you bending to impress her? And that quiet question grows louder every time she sees you not chasing. She starts to lean in, trying to earn more of that attention she once took for granted. When you compliment her, do it with precision, not the generic kind that sounds like it's been copied and pasted 100 times. Notice something subtle, something no one else comments on, her timing, her stillness, the way she pauses before speaking. Show her you're not just looking, you're actually paying attention. But then, instead of following that compliment with a string of needy affirmations or endless praise, let it breathe, let it land and linger. It's in those moments of restraint that you become magnetic. And never try to outmatch her emotionally. If she pulls back, don't chase. If she becomes distant, don't panic. You need to be the calm in the room, not the storm. Women test, not always consciously, but they do. They pull away just to see if you'll lose yourself trying to pull them back. But the man who doesn't flinch, who lets her go and simply waits, anchored in himself, focused on his own path, that's the man she runs back to. This is where so many men lose their edge. They get a taste of her attention and suddenly want all of it. They overmedge, overthink, overinvest. But what they don't realize is the more they try to hold on to her, the more she slips through their fingers. Because no woman wants to feel like a prize that's already been claimed by someone who's wrapped his whole world around her. She wants to feel chosen, but not smothered, desired, but not caged. And when you give her that feeling of being seen without being claimed, you become the paradox she can't shake, the man who values her but doesn't need her to feel complete. You've got to build your foundation without her. She should be an addition to your world, not the center of it. That way, when you show her affection, she knows it's genuine, not a tool to win her over, not a performance. It's coming from a place of wholeness, not lack. And that's rare. Because most men either give too much, too fast, or they wall themselves off entirely. They think they have to choose between being emotionally available or completely detached. But the real power, it's in the middle. It's in being open enough to connect, but strong enough to walk away if that connection isn't mutual or respected. That energy is what makes her wonder where she stands with you. It keeps her engaged. It keeps her curious. And curiosity, as I've said, is the first step to desire. So don't be afraid to make her feel seen. Look into her, notice her patterns, appreciate her mind, not just her beauty. But once you've done that, step back, let her come toward you. Let her wonder if she holds your attention or if she's just another passing moment in a life that doesn't pause for anyone. That's when the game changes. That's when she starts to chase. There's a shift that happens the moment a man decides his life has meaning, with or without anyone's permission. The second he stops waiting for approval and starts moving with purpose, something in his energy transforms. You can feel it in the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he exists. And women notice. Not because he's trying to be noticed, but because there's nothing more magnetic than a man who knows exactly where he's going and refuses to let anything distract him from that path. Most men think attraction is about words or looks. They think if they say the right thing or wear the right cologne, they'll win her over. But women aren't chasing style, they're chasing substance. They're chasing energy, and there's no energy more powerful than a man driven by something bigger than her, a mission, a calling, a life that doesn't slow down just because she enters the room. You want to know why some men get chased and others get ignored? It's not luck. It's not some secret pickup line. It's purpose. When you make your life your first priority, when your goals become non-negotiable, you stop chasing and you start becoming the kind of man women want to chase, not because you're playing games, but because you've become the game. Think about it. A man who wakes up every morning with intention in his step, who's building something, creating something, pushing himself to be more, that man is rare. He's not scrolling endlessly, hoping to get her attention. He's too busy working on himself. And that's what catches her eye, because it shows confidence without needing validation, focus without obsession. A man like that isn't seeking a woman to complete him. He's inviting her to join him, if she can keep up. And here's the truth. Women don't want to be the center of your universe. Not really. That sounds romantic, but it gets exhausting. If your whole identity is wrapped around her, she starts to feel the weight of it, and that weight becomes pressure. But when she sees that your identity is built on something stronger, your vision, your work, your legacy, she feels inspired. She wants to be part of that energy, not out of obligation, but because it elevates her too. Don't build your life around her. Build your life around your mission and let her gravitate toward that. And if she doesn't, you keep going. That's the part most men can't do. They fall for someone and suddenly everything else fades. The gym gets skipped, the business slows down, the ambition softens. But what you don't realize is that's when she starts to pull away. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's no longer drawn to who you were when she first met you. She was drawn to the fire, and if you let it die just to keep her warm, you both lose. You have to stay committed to your path no matter who enters or exits your life. That doesn't mean being cold or unavailable. It means having standards. It means you don't trade your long-term vision for short-term comfort, because when you do that, you're no longer leading, you're following. And women don't chase followers. Now, this doesn't mean you should treat her like she doesn't matter. Of course not. A woman who supports your mission is a gift. But you don't pause your progress to win her. You invite her into the world you're already building, and she'll feel that. She'll feel the difference between a man who's waiting for a relationship to give his life meaning and a man whose life already has meaning, with or without anyone by his side. That's the man she'll chase. That's the man she'll respect. Because that's the man who doesn't need her, but still wants her. And that distinction, that's everything. So if you're wondering why she's not calling back, why she's losing interest, why she's pulling away, ask yourself one thing. Have I been chasing her harder than I've been chasing my own purpose? Because the second you reverse that, when your attention shifts back to your mission, she'll feel the shift. And suddenly you'll find that the very thing you were chasing is now chasing you. Attraction isn't built in straight lines. It lives in contrast. It's not the constant warmth that makes her addicted to your presence, it's the fluctuation, the ability to make her feel emotionally alive. Most men try to be consistent in the wrong way. They're always available, always agreeable, always pouring affection nonstop like a leaking faucet. But that kind of predictability doesn't spark longing. It breeds comfort. And while comfort might be nice, it's not what ignites desire. Desire needs a heartbeat. It needs contrast. It needs a storm followed by stillness. Sunshine, then shadows. Because it's the movement that stirs her. You don't want to be the man who gives her emotional peace too soon. She won't feel excitement if she never has a chance to miss you. If she knows exactly how you'll react, what you'll say, when you'll call, how available you'll be. There's no tension. And without tension, there's no fire. That tension isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about being emotionally unpredictable in a way that keeps her guessing. Not because you're inconsistent with your respect, but because you're not flatline predictable in your presence. Think about it like music. A melody without pauses or changes in tone is just noise. But a melody that rises, falls, holds a note, then crashes back into silence, that's the kind that lingers in your memory. You want to be that melody in her life, the one she can't stop humming even when you're gone. Sometimes that means you lean in. Show her that deep magnetic warmth. Look her in the eyes and let her feel that you're tuned into her frequency. And then you pull back. gently, not to punish her, not to confuse her, but to give her the space to feel what it's like when you're not flooding her world with your presence. And it's in that silence, in that brief absence, that she begins to wonder, begins to crave, begins to chase. If she's never had the chance to miss you, she'll never feel the full weight of what your presence means. The truth is, women fall deeper when you let them come to you, when you stop force-feeding the relationship, when you don't always text first, when you don't always explain every emotional shift, when you let her wonder a little, not because you're being cruel, but because you're not making her comfort your obsession. You're not her therapist. You're not her emotional sponge. You're a man. And that means you bring weather, intensity, change, mood, clarity. You bring challenge and softness. And when you master that rhythm, she gets hooked on the sensation of being around you because no two moments are exactly the same. That emotional variety makes her feel. And once a woman feels deeply around you, even if it's confusion, desire, joy, little jealousy, that emotion anchors her to you. What's dangerous is emotional flatness. The man who's always saying yes, who never disagrees, who never lets her feel his pull and his distance, that man fades into the background. But the man who gives her butterflies one moment and has her questioning everything the next, that man stays in her mind. It's not about being toxic, let's make that clear. It's not about playing with her feelings or being hot and cold out of fear or insecurity. It's about emotional control, emotional rhythm. You pull away not because you're scared, but because you know that silence is as powerful as sound. That your absence, if timed right, can be louder than any declaration of love. And here's the beauty of it. When you do come back, when you re-engage, when you show affection after distance, it hits harder because she felt the gap. And in that gap, she realized how much she missed you. That's what keeps her chasing, not just your presence, but the anticipation of it. So don't be afraid to create emotional contrast. Give her warmth, then give her space. Let her feel adored, then let her feel your absence. Let her smile, and let her wonder. Because when a woman is left wondering about a man, not out of confusion but curiosity, that's when desire begins to grow into something wild and consuming. That's when she starts chasing a feeling she can only find in you. There's a reason the most unforgettable men in a woman's life are often the ones she never fully figured out. It's not because they were deceptive or dishonest. It's because they never handed her the full map. They didn't reveal every thought, every intention, every layer of who they were from the beginning. And that mystery, that restraint, is what left her thinking about them long after the conversation ended. Because when a man withholds just enough, he sparks something primal in her, the need to know, to understand, to get closer. We live in a time where oversharing is normal. Everyone wants to be fully known within the first few minutes. But here's the truth that most men overlook. If she figures you out too quickly, you become emotionally disposable. She places you in a box and moves on. Because the chase dies the moment there's nothing left to chase. And that's what kills attraction. Not a lack of looks, not a lack of charm, but a lack of curiosity. You don't need to lie. You don't need to play mind games. But you do need to hold something back. Let her feel like she's only seen a glimpse of what's really going on inside you. When she asks questions, don't answer everything with perfect clarity. Be intentional. Give just enough to keep her engaged, but never enough for her to feel like she's got you all figured out. Because the second she feels like she knows your next move, the game is over. Women are emotional detectives. They live in the realm of intuition, feeling, analysis, and when you give them a puzzle, a mystery, they lean in. They start reading between your words. They replay your expressions in their mind. They try to decode what you meant by that pause, that smirk, that moment of silence, and in that process, they become invested. The more they think about you, the more you live in their mind. The more you live in their mind, the more they start to chase, not your body, not your attention, but the feeling they get from trying to understand you. And here's what makes this so powerful. Most men are desperate to be understood. They spill everything too early in the hope of building connection, but real connection is never built through emotional exposure. It's built through emotional tension. You don't owe her your whole story, not right away, not all at once. Make her earn access to your depths. Give her a reason to come closer. Think of your mind and heart like a locked journal. Show her the cover. Let her read a few pages. But don't hand her the key. Let her wonder what's written in the chapters she hasn't seen yet. Because once she believes there's more to discover, she won't walk away. She'll get hooked. Not on what you've shown, but on what you've withheld. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It's about precision, timing, presence. When she asks you something personal, pause, smile, look at her, then give her just enough to satisfy the moment, but hold the rest. You want her walking away from every interaction, feeling like she almost touched something sacred, something deep, but didn't quite get all the way in. That emotional gap, that's where her curiosity grows. That's where desire is born. And don't always let her know what you're feeling, not because you're hiding, but because you're centered. If you're too emotionally available too soon, she feels in control. And once she feels in control, the chase dies. But when your emotions are a little unpredictable, not erratic, just unreadable, it keeps her on edge. It keeps her trying to understand you. And that edge keeps her attention locked in. She doesn't want you to be robotic. She wants you to feel, but she wants to earn the privilege of seeing those feelings. She wants to work for your vulnerability, because when she does, when she finally gets to see that part of you, it means something. It's not just another story. It's an experience, a breakthrough, a moment she won't forget. And you become more than just a man. You become a mystery worth chasing. So don't give everything away just because she's beautiful. Let her feel the weight of your silence. Let her feel the thrill of not knowing what you'll say next. And let her keep coming back, not for answers, but for the questions you make her ask. Because the man who leaves her wondering is the man she can't stop wanting. There's a quiet shift that happens in a woman the moment she realizes a man doesn't need her validation. When she can't quite read whether he's impressed or indifferent, when he doesn't light up just because she walks into the room, when he listens but doesn't lean in like he's desperate to be liked. That shift is where the chase begins. Because deep down, what draws a woman in isn't the man who seeks her approval. It's the man who makes her want to earn his. Most men flip the dynamic without realizing it. They walk into a conversation already auditioning, trying to be liked, trying to impress, measuring their worth based on how she responds. They nod too eagerly, laugh too quickly, agree too often, all in the hope that she'll see them as good enough. But the truth is, the moment you seek her approval, you've already handed over the frame of power. You've said, without saying, your opinion of me matters more than my own. And she feels that instantly. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional status. They can sense when a man is pedestalizing them, even if he doesn't say it out loud. And while it may feel flattering for a moment, it quickly becomes boring, because if you've already given her all your attention, your admiration, your desire, without making her work for it, then where's the thrill? Where's the reward? Where's the challenge? But when you're the one holding the frame, when your energy says, I'm here, but I don't need you to like me. When you evaluate her just as much as she's evaluating you, she feels that tension, that pull, that invitation to prove herself. And that's when she starts trying not to impress the world, but to impress you. Because you're no longer just a man, you're a standard. And a man with standards is dangerous in the most attractive way. He doesn't flinch at beauty. He doesn't chase attention. He observes, he notices, he reads her, and then he decides, quietly, whether she fits into his world, whether her behavior, her energy, her mindset align with the life he's building. And that energy, that's what flips the script. Because now, instead of wondering if you're good enough for her, she's wondering if she's good enough for you. But this only works if it's genuine. You can't fake indifference. You can't pretend to be above it all if deep down you're begging for her attention. Women see through that. What you have to build is authentic self-worth. The kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that doesn't rise and fall based on how attractive she is or how interested she seems. And when you have that, your approval becomes a currency. It becomes something she wants to earn, not because you're being arrogant or withholding, but because you value yourself deeply. You know that what you bring to the table, your mindset, your presence, your purpose, isn't something you just give away. It's something that requires alignment, effort, and mutual respect. It's about being kind but not eager, present but not emotionally exposed without reason. It's about listening closely but not reacting too fast. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows he has options but isn't chasing any of them because he's too busy choosing himself first. And when you choose yourself first, she'll feel the shift. She'll feel the lack of pressure. She'll feel the difference between a man who's craving her attention and a man who's open to her presence, but unaffected by her absence. That's rare, and rarity is magnetic. You don't need to convince her of your worth. You need to know it so deeply that it speaks before you do. That way, when she shows up, when she flirts, when she plays the game, she knows you're not chasing her. She knows you're not folding. She knows she has to earn her place in your world. Because a woman will only value what she had to reach for, not what begged to be held. So stop asking, does she like me? Start asking, do I even want her in my life? Because the moment she senses that your approval isn't easily given is the moment she starts chasing it.